star of Politically Incorrect, Bill Maher.
All righty, let's meet our panel. She is a nationally syndicated columnist for the Washington Times and the Chicago Tribune, Suzanne Field. Suzanne, where are you? There. Welcome to our show. Thank you for joining us. A bright light of the operatic stage and President Bush's inaugural, the new President Bush, her new CD is Voce di Donna. Did I say that?
Very good.
Lousy? Okay. And great thing. Wait a
Very good. Very good.
Hey, baby. Come here. I not only didn't get to your name, I didn't get to your last credit.
Oh.
You'll be at the Orange County, Performing Arts Center tomorrow night. Denyce Graves is what I was going to say. There you go. Boy. I haven't been that premature since high school. His new HBO show, On the Record with Bob Costas, premieres on February 14th, and the paperback of his book, Fair Ball, hits the shelves this spring. Can you guess? It's Bob Costas. Well, thank you for being here. He is half of the legendary Smothers brothers, and he'll be duffing it at A&T's Pebble Beach Golf Tournament next week again. Can you guess? Tommy Smothers, right over there. Tommy, how are you? How are you? Okay. All right. Now, the other day, as the door was hitting President Clinton in the ass, well, it was. He pardoned a bunch of people, and for some reason today, I don't know why they took so long to get on him about this, but they should get on him. I think this is ridiculous. Most people do agree. He pardoned, among others, Mark Rich, a criminal, a huge criminal, white-collar criminal, because basically Mrs. Rich, in the last 2 years, gave the Democratic Party $500,000. And that's our system of government. Good night. Okay.
I think it was actually $1 million, in fact.
So no one wants to defend Clinton on that, do you?
No, of course not.
Okay. So my question is, the inaugural, which you were just at with the new President Bush, cost $35 million. $100 grand from Microsoft, who of course has a big court case pending. Abbott Laboratories gave $100 grand. Prescription drug coverage pending. America Online, $100 grand. Big merger just went through. GM, $100. Is it any better? Is it any different?
Well, you're certainly not surprised, are you? Shocked?
No, I'm just...
Shocked? It's like finding gambling in Washington? I mean, in Casablanca?
No, but I'm...
I mean,
but the question is, who is defending the system of open bribery we have?
That's not what it is. It's not open bribery. What it is somewhat... No. Wait a minute. You just had a catalog of all the people who had paid this money. We know this. This should be accountability for the candidate. So if we know who is giving him the money, then he has to be accountable to the people. If he suddenly starts doing favors for these big wigs, then we raise our hands and say, whoa. Suddenly. Look. You're the one
arguing. What do you mean, if?
What do you mean, if?
Yeah, I think...
When someone gives
already
you...
on the table, in fact, with American Airlines and TWA already, who were... American Airlines were a huge contributor to the Bush campaign, and so now there's this issue on the table. There's no question that it's going to play... It's going to influence greatly, a lot of decision-making, I think.
Well, wait a minute. It just might
What matters is if you're on the side of John McCain, who says, this stinks so bad I can't breathe, we got to change it, or you're not. Where are you?
Oh, wait a second. I'm not with John McCain. I think it's a mistake. I think
then you
think
can breathe. I can't.
Look, the issue really is, the Supreme Court has even talked about this. It has talked about...
The Supreme Court, we know, is not that bright.
Well, let's not go into that. Mr. Mayor, you are changing the subject. The point is, there was a...
No, you're trying to avoid the answer, which is you're against campaign finance,
I'm saying that I think everybody should be able to give as much money as they like, and let again...
Okay, well, there you go.
Okay, right now, you know what? You and I can only give $1,000 to a candidate. Well, this means it's a restriction on how much we can give. Why not give more?
Yeah, but GM could give $100,000.
And why not? We won't see who gives what. And then you know what happened? 25 years ago, we had a cure that was worse than a disease.
How did Mrs. Rich... How did she give $500,000 to the... Yes, Bob.
You know, it occurs to me that if the Texas 7 had just bought the Clintons a little something, think of the trouble they could have saved themselves. Just a little something.
Yeah.
But just, you know, Denyce Rich gave money to his defense fund. She also bought him 2 chairs, 2 tables.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be covered by campaign finance reform. That would be ridiculous. And what about influence? Where does influence come? Does it come only from money? Does it come from friendship? Does it come from selling the Lincoln bedroom? That's not going to be protected by campaign finance reform.
Talk about changing the subject. Well, you got to be kidding if you think the Lincoln bedroom or a bunch of flatware compares with $1 million. Here you go.
Yeah. Thank you. So anyway, I love McCain, I love Bradley, I love their concept of reform, and I'm still very enthusiastic about his reform. But there is a truth that any great country, in France in the 17th century, most corrupt, any powerful country has these people vying for attention for their special causes, which are, whether it be war, drugs, whatever the thing is. So this is natural. I think there should be reform on just who the people are that are doing it. Since we have it'd be nice to know who, because we'd like to know which corporation to vote for. So,
yeah, exactly.
So that's not going to change.
Right.
So we might as well make sure that we know where it's coming from.
That's right.
And then even if...
Wait a
Let's
second.
post the contributions on the Internet. Let's make
They
it public.
do that. People
Okay.
don't care.
Of course we can.
They don't care. You know, Bob Dole got a lot of his money in '96 from the tobacco lobby, and they asked him, do you think cigarettes cause cancer? He said, I'm not a doctor. You don't think that's a lie that was bought by that tobacco money?
No, he's not a doctor. It's the truth.
All right, I got to take a break. We'll be right back. Come back to your point in just 1 second. Attorney General designate John Ashcroft's confirmation is in trouble. A man came forward today to say that Ashcroft questioned him about his sexual orientation during a job interview, saying to the man, do you have the same sexual preference as most men? And the guy said, yeah, I like to watch lesbians. Linda Tripp, the woman who tricked her best friend into revealing intimate details of her sex life, recorded it, and released it to the world, is suing the Pentagon under the Privacy Act. I am not kidding. Linda says that after she left there at the Pentagon, they sabotaged her job hunt. By the way, Linda also thinks the CIA is scaring away all the eligible bachelors, and the FBI is making her eat the donuts. So... Okay. Well, tonight is the night that I'm supposed to announce that we, if you don't know, we've had an auction on eBay to have someone sit here in one of these chairs. Somebody's paying $47,000 to sit here and talk to us. It's going to go to my favorite charity, Best Friends Animal Sanctuary. Now, thank you. In plugging this, I have had to talk about the Internet now for about a month, and I'm sick of it because when people ask me about the Internet, I say to them, honestly, I'm not on it. I've never been on it. I don't feel like I'm missing that much, and they look at me like, what a loser. Right. And I don't feel like I'm a... you think I'm a loser, too?
I think that's being a loser. I mean, how do you get all your information? I mean, you ask if this is being behind, missing the bus, it's missing the future. Do you know how wonderful you can find things on the Internet? Libraries, art, science.
Do you know that there's
all
nothing you can't do on the Internet that 3 good assistants can't do for you?
How about...
See, and that's really the difference. I don't use the Internet myself.
Oh, right on, brother.
But I have a staff where I say, hey, listen, I need this information or that, and they pull it off the Internet.
Yeah.
So it's a little disingenuous.
Really?
No, wait a second.
Him with his big staff.
You know what? No, either, both of you with your big staffs. You know what I do? I get it.
Tommy, who has a bigger staff? You or Dick?
My brother Dick. Yeah. And as far as speaking of being accessing the internetical attitude of finding things is, you know, I was offered truly, I was offered a employment as a George W. speechwriter.
I believe it.
But as far as that fundraising, he's the best president that money can buy, and we had another one that's the best. Because I voted for Nader. I had a good time. We won because we didn't have a president for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And he did a good job for us. Anyway, this is the internet is highly technical, and
oh, we're back to this thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say that you're talking about somebody interpreting information for you. I get it directly from the internet. I'm the one who
well,
can
you're
choose.
some kind of woman.
Hey, first of all, the problem with the internet is that there is no one editing it. It's just a bathroom wall, electronically.
Yeah.
So
What
to
is
think
this
that you're...
humor here?
Also, you know what I resent is the fact that they try to sell it like it's this great educational tool. If they would just sell it the way they did television, radio, entertainment. Most people use it to masturbate and chat. Okay? So...
I don't know about that. No, there's no question that it's a terrific resource. It's a fabulous tool, and it's terribly, terribly convenient. And I mean, I don't really know how many people are using it to do those other things, but I use it quite a lot all the time for resource, and it's fantastic, you know. But it's a convenience. You don't have to have it. Certainly, there are people. I have lots of friends who absolutely say, no, I'm not going to use it at all. I prefer to use the Britannica or whatever, you know.
No, I'm just saying, like television, you can watch PBS or the Discovery Channel. There's lots of good things you can do with television, but most people use it for just blowing off time. And that's the same thing with the internet.
Well, see, that's where you're wrong. I mean, there is so much on there. When you want to find out something, you find it. You're acting like you're getting everything through Reader's Digest condensation when someone interprets something for you very short. You work in television, and you talk in short ideas, whereas the rest of us read and think in big ideas.
How come you're picking on him?
Oh, because he was picking on me. I don't mean to be mean about this.
No, please.
No, but I mean, I do think that there is something about the internet that's expansive. An intelligent person reads it, such as yourself, could read it and find out a great many things.
Well, that was a make good.
Yeah.
Can I come back?
No.
Can I save myself? I'll be invited back now.
I like people who are mean to me on the show. It humanizes me. But
that I had noticed.
But I mean, this idea that somehow television is the place for small ideas, and what, USA Today is where the big ideas are coming from?
No, but that USA Today, that also is an example of a kind of influence by television. Read the Washington Times, the paper I work for, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. You get a lot of information there, and now you can read them on the internet.
Gee, isn't that convenient?
Yeah, well, you know, it happens to be...
Read a newspaper on the...
You know what,
you
may
have
laugh.
it backwards there,
you
honey?
can laugh, but you know, you have a lot of young people who are discovering newspapers on the internet.
No, he's got a guy... just let's go say what you... That's a good idea. Tell her that.
What were you going to say?
Tell the one about the...
No, I think it's very true that we are definitely fostering a generation of people who are not in touch with each other, who are sitting at home, you know, in front of these computers, and we lose our contact. So, I mean, I think that's a huge...
Unlike we were sitting here talking to each other,
right? If you use it judiciously, it's like any other tool. If there's an editorial in the Rocky Mountain News in Denver, and it pertains to something you're interested in, or it's on tonight's show, the only way you can get it quickly in time for tonight's show is to go on the web and get it. What, are you going to have it Federal Expressed overnight?
Why would you want the Rocky Mountain
Maybe
News?
it has something interesting.
That's the point. People say, you know, I can get Bulgarian radio. Did you want it before?
Yeah. You know, yeah, I'd like to know what you don't know. You know, I mean, no, Bob made...
And
was a terrific point, you know, because it's not just the newspapers that we all read or you have delivered at your door. You have somebody read for you and tell you what's interesting.
No, I actually read the newspaper because I can carry it with me, unlike my computer.
Okay.
On the subway. That would be convenient. You know,
you see little laptops now? They're pretty small, and you can even use them on a subway.
I know.
No, you know, I'm just trying to suggest to you that newspapers who are so afraid of losing readers now have another outlet, and people are discovering them on the internet, which is something that you're not bothering with, but that's terrific for these people who otherwise haven't used paper and pen.
Okay. I have to take a break electronically. We'll be right back.
Join us tomorrow when our guest will be the ringmaster Jerry Springer. From Hootie and the Blowfish, Darius Rucker, author Lynn Snowden-Biggett, and radio talk show host Mark Taylor.
Well, the roster of musical acts for Sunday's Super Bowl is the biggest ever. Before the game, you're going to get Styx and Bon Jovi for the anthem, the Backstreet Boys at halftime, Britney Spears, and NSYNC. A spokesman said, "This is more than just a Super Bowl game. We want the whole day to suck." All right, so let's talk a little Super Bowl, because we have Mr. Sports, Mr. Bob Costas here, and the game is Sunday, of course, and whenever the game comes up, it seems like a lot of the athletes involved in it are on trial or just got off trial. Or,
it's a big year for the NFL in that category.
Yeah.
Record-breaking.
It seems like every year. As we talked the other night about Ray Caruth, who's just got his sentence, and Ray Lewis, and I was making the point that both of them had their posses do the killing when killing needed to be done, whereas O.J. did it himself. Thank you. And I was just going to ask, I mean, it seems like, yes, of course, everyone in society, all segments commit crimes. It seems like athletes do it more brazenly, in a way that they just think, no one could catch me.
Well, that's what we expect of them at this point, isn't it?
With also much more visible, so there's probably a lot of stuff going on we don't even hear about that's not worth, because they're not a celebrity status, but when someone...
Really?
Well, maybe I'm wrong.
You know, of all the things that Ray Lewis has said...
I mean, you think don't you think most guys would plan better than O.J. did to kill his wife? You know, they would just go over there, stab...
We all agree that it was a little sloppy.
Yeah.
Ray Lewis ran away from the scene of a crime in a limousine. I mean, he was...
A 40-foot limousine.
Thank you. And now
this is what you need on Super Bowl weekend.
And now he wants to know why.
40 feet, yeah.
Everybody's paying attention to him. Now he wants to know why, right?
Well, he certainly didn't show much remorse for the families of those. That's the most... no, whether he did it or not, I don't know. He didn't say anything to me. So he very well...
No, I don't think he did it, because guys in that position never do anything themselves. They have somebody else get them a drink.
You know, of all the things that he said, and most of them you wish he had said not at all, the most revealing thing was when he said, you know, they tell you to stay away from gangsters and thugs, but then they better tell us to stay out of the huddle, because there's 3 or 4 gangsters or thugs in every huddle. And I think that's the truest thing that Ray Lewis has said. All the rest is probably BS.
But he wound up being one of those he's talking about.
Right.
And, you know, he talks about these deaths of 2 men as though they're just a missed tackle or something.
But, you know, we treat our athletes kind of like we used to treat soldiers in other societies. Soldiers could get away with anything. But it was kind of justified because they protected society, or they went and conquered a new land. So when they got back to Rome, yes, they could rape and pillage, because they were our army.
If O.J. had been involved in a double murder when he was 28 instead of 48, he would have returned to the Buffalo Bills, since he was found not guilty. He would have returned to the Buffalo Bills, and he may have been booed in every other stadium. But when he got to the end zone in Buffalo, 80,000 people would have stood up and cheered, and they would have lectured the media about harping on this subject when O.J. is having such a big year.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Gotta take a break. We'll be right back.
Politically Incorrect is coming to our nation's capital. If you plan to be in the Washington, D.C. area from February 5th through the 9th and would like free tickets, call 877-311-5678.
Bob, tell the Art Modell story in 20 seconds.
Well, it just strikes me that when Robert Irsay, who has since passed on, took the Colts to Indianapolis, he was public enemy #1. He could never return. It was the worst thing that ever happened. Our beloved Colts taken away.
Right.
What did Art Modell do in Cleveland but take a beloved team from Cleveland and move them to where? Baltimore. But since they were seeing the headlights instead of the taillights, he's a hero. And Ray Lewis is a hero, too. It's all about whose ox is being gored. That's what modern sports is about.
And O.J. proves if you're going to kill, do it early in your career while you're still playing. Remember that, kids. Tomorrow, Jerry Springer, Darius Rucker, Lynn Snowden, and Mark Taylor.